Hi Comp 110, this is Kaylee, your TA, here to talk with you a little bit more about if-else statements in this video. Here we see the if statement in its most general form, which is if with a test condition in parentheses, followed by an if body, which only runs if the test condition is true. Now let's look at this being used with an example of Olaf as it goes from winter to summer. Here you can see we have a class called Olaf, which has two instance variables. One is a Boolean, that's called melts, and another is an int called temp. In the Olaf constructor, we can see that melts is initialized to false, and temp is set to 32. Let's look at our method now, called isOlafMelted, which returns some kind of Boolean. We see our if statement says if the temp is greater than 32 degrees, then melts is equal to true and returns the value of melts. Since the temperature is not greater than 32 degrees, we know that melts is going to be the value of false, which is what it was originally assigned. So things to remember about if statements is that if statements are not followed by semicolons. This is a very common mistake to make, but you want to make sure that you instead follow your condition with brackets, just like you would in a method, so that all of your if body code will be inside of these brackets. Another thing to remember is to make sure that the code that replaces test condition in this example is a Boolean, meaning that it's going to return either a true or a false value. Because if it's true, then the next code that will be executed is actually going to be in the if body, and if not, it's going to exit and execute the next code that follows the if body. So here, in this if statement, we see our temperature is temperature greater than 32, would be a Boolean, and in this case, since our temperature is not greater than 32, we have a very happy and unmelted Olaf. Another important thing to think about when assigning conditions for if statements is the equality operator. When you're assigning a value to a variable, you use one equal sign. This is an instance where we assigned the value of false to melts, so we used one equal sign in the constructor. When you use two equal signs, it's called the equality operator. It means you're testing what a condition is equal to for a Boolean. For example, here we have Bay rating. At the first time, it's equal to 10. We're assigning the value of 10 to Bay rating, but the second time around, we're asking if Bay rating is equal to 10. So here's a slightly altered version of our Olaf class. So first of all, like I pointed out, the melts is equal to false. This is the assignment operator where we're assigning the value of false to melts. In the isOlafMelted method, however, our if statement now reads if melts is equal to true. This is an example of using the equality operator, and you're asking if melts is equal to true, then to execute the code that is inside of the if body, which in this case is to return true. So right now, since melts is not equal to true, it's going to return false, meaning Olaf is not melted, and he can just look at his unmelted reflection in the puddle of water. Now let's move on to looking at if-else statements. Now the general format of if-else statements are very similar to the if statement, except it's going to be followed by an else with an else body. So you're going to have the if with the test condition with an if body that'll only execute if the test condition is true, and if it's not, it actually moves on to the else body. So that's the main purpose of if-else statements. If the test condition is false, then it'll execute the else body. So here we can look at our same method, isOlafMelted, but now it has an if and an else statement. The if condition is still if temperature is greater than 32, then melts is equal to true, and if it's not, then melts is equal to false, and you return the value of melts at the very end.